Hello and welcome to a segment I'm going to call Short and Sweet Sundays, where I discuss a few themes that seem to have played a role over the past week in my life. Just sitting back, reflecting, speaking a bit more openly and less formally. So if you're here, I appreciate you listening. And here we go. When I had initially moved out of my parents' place at around age 20 or 21, I was entirely out on my own for the first time. I had a lot of time to live and exist in my own little bubble. Maybe we don't appreciate how important that is. I think it's important because it starts giving us the opportunity to figure out what we really think about things. I could clearly think for myself without the nagging voices of everyone else in my head, including family and friends, who are always wanting, asking, complaining, or trying to influence me about something. I think anyone listening probably knows too well what that's like. The silence helped me realize mostly, and as kindly as I can say this, how full of shit everyone else is. This is not to say I would never be required in this life to care for the people I'm obligated to on paper. I think even that sounds too formal for most people's liking, but I'm trying to be as honest as I can. What's more, I do actually care. I understand that may sound like I don't. But what I'm getting at here is more so about how draining it is as an individual to deal with other people's attitudes and moods, and above all, their incessant need to try to force their ways on you, to live the way that they live, simply so they can mentally associate with you. The worst thing about that is having no room to fully be yourself. If anyone knew that I thought this way about certain things, they wouldn't think critically about it. They would get into their emotions and block or punish me socially in any way they knew how. I've experienced that more times than I can count at this point. Yet I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't turn heel or block them on a whim every time they annoy me with something simple. I put up with it. And I just tell myself maybe that's the one difference between me and everybody else. Regardless, I had also figured out that when something like this would come up, I'd feel angry or let down about things. In my early 20s, I tried to find outlets for that, which turned out to be the same garbage everybody else does. Sometimes it was about obtaining a new certification or achievement, losing another pound for myself and being a weight loss coach. A good portion of the time, I was shopping for things that seemed to reinitiate this idea in my head about how great I was. I was constantly trying to achieve an image of myself mentally, in reassurance that somehow by the end of the day, I was still better, smarter, and stronger than them all, and no, I could never tell them. It worked for a little while. I didn't realize until my frontal lobe had finished developing at ages 25 and 26 that with those habits, I was just a small fish in a large pond of millions trying to live the same way. This is our Western consumer chaotic culture in a nutshell. I have to take a few steps beyond myself now to observe the fact that we are, as a whole, a society of ego-driven people built exactly like that. We have some form of coping with it. We shop until we drop and impress people we don't even like with things or ideas that are incredibly hard to maintain. There's no pointing a finger at the villain in this situation per se. Everyone has tried to live that way because it's considered normal by us. by everyone we know. We are all guilty by association, if you want to look at it that way. The beauty of a John Denver song or a box of jewelry making supplies, for example, seem to promise the same things. Their potential to make something lighthearted, bright, inspirational, maybe have the ability to change people's minds, increase their awareness, and make them think about the finer, more abstract things in life. It seems like we could go on and on forever about the greatness of such light concepts. The only problem is, most humans are not light beings. They don't have the internal capacity to see that. They don't have the capability within them to truly love, consider, or appreciate those kinds of things, much less put anyone else or anything else before the self. I feel like this is where I come in to deliver my message and my exchange to you. Living this way hurts because we live in a conformist society that can't stop consuming the hurry, the hatred, or the new and the now over the slow and sometimes plain truth of being human, which is very simple. There's no exciting selling point in doing the right thing or finding true balance with the universe. There's no fireworks, there's no wreckage to stare at. There's no show about taking your medicine. And so, because of this, most people aren't interested in doing such things. They don't care for doing the work for work's sake. They don't care about obliging the simplicity of life, because there has to be more. They'd rather lie, cheat, and conspire to make it a show. They're willing to throw everything away or let it fall into ruin for the sake of a plot that excites them, even if that plot only exists in their head and nowhere else. I think there's some part of you that's smart enough to know that the way we live feels incredibly unnatural, and this is the exact reason. In our collective hurry to prove billions of points, we rob and destroy the very sanctity of nature, and thus ourselves. We put ourselves into turmoil before we can even blink, because we are nature itself. In our hurry to beat everyone else, have more, and do more, we end up running a race instead of savoring a journey. It's quite insane, because everyone around us we know seems infected with this disease, at best I could call it, of unawareness. I am a huge proponent of saying that we can only be affected or infected by that which we allow to continue for ourselves. As I have said in previous videos as well, we have a responsibility to live here, evolve, and change. I can read all the psychology books in the world. I can buy all the coolest outfits known to man. I can get on here and talk my shit about how smart I am and what I've been through. I can do everything by the book and get it all balanced by our self-created concepts. I can be 10 times smarter than anyone who hires me or doesn't. At the end of the day, none of it would matter. None of it would matter if I never accepted this information, and if I never tried to use it and utilize the life force in this incarnation to realize such deep truths about being and living, to put the burden of guilt down and say, okay, I don't have to carry this. There are a lot of people around me who have jobs that they're not doing. If I never did, it would have all been a waste. It would have been one endless shopping trip. Evolving past this would have to include looking past my own hatreds and phobias to find the root of them and to release them. If we are not to obtain means of success in this life by means of money or any other material concepts. This has to be it. I would encourage you to go within yourself and consider some of these things and reflect. What might that mean for you? How would considering some of these things improve your personal life? How can you start implementing them now? I thank you for listening, and if you have anything you'd like to share, please feel free to leave it in the comments. I'll see you guys again soon in another video.